Hello everyone, I am Tacit and welcome to the Gems of War Campaign 8 Week 8 Day 7 live stream. So today, of course, we got ourselves the finishing of the first ever repeat weekend event. So if you are doing it for level 500 Pure Faction, make sure to get that done soon. And if you're just doing it for the free battles like we will be doing so, we'll see where that lands us. As far as the stage 1, I believe it lands us like right there, so we're not really getting that much further, but you know, we'll still do it just for the fun of it, just for the sake of it. Because I'm actually kind of curious how far we'll end up getting. I did go for tier 1 just for the enchant, but still be around the same kind of area. But anyways, I'm going to go over all the spoilers for the week. Also, hopefully, fingers crossed, this Tuesday will be the patch, question mark, maybe, possibly, probably. Let's hope so. I can't be wrong, 3 Tuesdays in a row, right? But anyways, it is pretty likely that this patch, though it have been proven wrong, but it is very likely that this Tuesday will be the patch. They generally don't do a patch during Guild War week, and next week is a Guild War week, and by next week I mean next week's week, not like tomorrow next week, but you know, like next week, like 8 days from now next week, that kind of next week. But because of that, they don't generally do a patch during that time, which means the actual next week, as in tomorrow, or 2 days from now technically, should end up being the patch Tuesday night, which is not tomorrow night's stream, but the day after that. And tomorrow night's stream will be messing with the new mythic, as there is technically a new one coming out. We have the final troop coming in, the Fairy Godmother. We even have an event that's tying that in with the World event this upcoming week that we're going to be having, as Fairy Godmother is one of the enemies there. Right over here, if I actually go bring this up. As far as the scoring, Fairy Godmother is the highest score you can go for, tied with the Frost Feather. It is a weird kind of rarity order. Winter Wolf is the main one you have to remember is the worst. The 2 ultra rare rooms, however, Winter Wolf is even worse than that. However, the 2 that you need to just remember being really good are the Frost Feather and Fairy Godmother. Fairy Godmother should be a mythic room. I'm not sure what Frost Feather will be marked as. It could be really confusing if it's marked as legendary, because Winter Imp would probably also be marked as legendary. So we'll have to see exactly what their markings are to see if they're actually going to be that distinguishable. However, that would be the scoring then, with Fairy Godmother and Frost Feather being the highest priority, and all the ultra rare rooms, particularly the Winter Wolf room, being the ones that you completely want to avoid. And there's no extra like multiplier kind of thing this week, so whatever you see is what you get. So overall, a little bit confusing if there's multiple the same rarity, because generally it's easier to sort them that way. It's always annoying when there's like 2 for the same rarity or something similar if it happens to go down that way. Like Yeti and Winter Wolf are likely both ultra rare, despite the fact that Winter Wolf is worse than Yeti. But we'll have to see if it's marked slightly differently during the event, or if it's just going to be just as confusing as always. But overall, at least somewhat straightforward. No like weird multiplier kind of thing or anything like that. Anyways, as far as the troop that we're getting tomorrow, it is of course a Glacial Peaks event week this upcoming week. It is a epic that you'll be able to get stock up on green blues, which is a pretty good color combination for quite a few troops, so highly advise stacking up on them if you haven't already maxed out all the troops in the game for trait stone wise. As far as the troop itself, it deals damage to all enemies boosted by blue and frozen enemies. Once again, they never put boost ratios here, so let me go double check what those actually are, as I did not know off the top of my head. Also, that was the troop I was talking about earlier. I should probably go show this as well. Copy link address, bring this one up. However, the one thing I want to go check right here is what's the boost ratio for this? So it's a 3 times boost ratio. So what's the ability again? Let's reread this. So with that info, so it's magic +1 to all enemies, and it has a 3 times boost ratio based on those other 2. So let me double check that. So deal a bunch of damage to enemies. So magic +1, boosted by blue and frozen enemies. So for every blue enemy and for every frozen enemy, it will deal 3 additional damage, which means if you had an entire enemy team of both blue and frozen, which is very unlikely because most things that are blue have immune to freeze, but let's just in theory say that's a thing, you would end up getting 28 additional damage to all enemies. That might sound like a lot in that situation, however, there is almost no instance where that will actually happen. Realistically, let's say you froze the entire enemy team and they have 1 blue on it. That would be 5, so you'd get 15 additional damage to all enemies for your cast. Overall, that puts her at a pretty average AoE option that isn't anything particularly interesting. One thing that it does have, I guess, that's slightly unique is, for one, it's only an epic, so this is actually kind of hitting decently hard for an epic, so it has that going for it. It's a pretty low rarity AoE. The other thing that it has going for it is it gets to summon an Ice Storm at the start of battle. If it had Water Link instead of Water Spirit, I feel like this could have potential, because you would have the Blue Storm at the start, you'd have the little bit of mana accumulation to help you out with that Blue Storm, plus she'd be a low mana cost AoE. But personally, I feel like she's basically just a weaker version of Atlanta. Atlanta doesn't have any kind of weird variable that you have to worry about. She has a color link into herself, And she even has that little bit of skull poke. She just doesn't have the star mid start. This is basically just going to be a weaker Atlanta in most situations. I can't really think of a situation where you'd use this early on instead of Atlanta. Not to mention you get Atlanta pretty... you get it for free very early on in the game, though they are tweaking some things with the game that might change that slightly. Though I'm pretty sure you're still going to be able to get Atlanta very early on in the game, compared to, you know, troops that are just randomly in a drop table. Because aside from this week, after this week is ended, you're just going to have to randomly try to hope you get it in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest drop table. Whereas, of course, this week, this upcoming week, you'll simply be able to get it for Glory. But beyond that point, it'll be substantially harder to get than something like Atlanta, while basically being inferior to Atlanta in most situations, just because Atlanta is a lot more straightforward, whereas this you have to build a lot more around, which might compromise your team specifically, potentially, especially if you don't have a proper freezing option, as it is very dependent on freezing the enemy team. But anyways, overall, pretty average, nothing too special. Oddly enough, even though Atlanta has just like straight just AoE text, like nothing else, it's basically better than this thing. And the reason I compare it is they're both an epic for 13 mana cost. They hit all enemies, so they're pretty similar in that regard. But I don't know, Atlanta's just overall kind of better. Atlanta does, I didn't mean to click on the team, but it has mana going into itself. It has a 50% skull ignore, so if you're using it more towards the front of your team, it gets to do some pretty good pokes. And now the super rare instance that the enemy is using a centaur, it can sometimes one-shot them. Like 50% of the time, it'll basically one-shot a centaur, so has that going for it. But it's very straightforward what it does, but overall, I don't know, it is less damage than her. So theoretically, that green-blue could be a slightly better version than her, but I don't know, we'll have to see. You have to build quite a bit around it, because unless your enemy team is very heavy on blue, well, I guess maybe Guild War Defend, you could kind of get incorporated if you don't have anything else early on in the game. You definitely wouldn't use it late in the game. Like, I'm probably never going to use it. I'm just going to upgrade it, max it out, and just put it there. But I guess it could be a early game good alternative if you need a good blue Guild War counter. So how's that going for it? That's probably the furthest it'll get as far as usage, I would probably say. Like, it's definitely a really early game oriented troop. And its boost ratio might even be able to allow it to pass by Atlanta a little bit in that regard. Anyways, so that's all that. Also, let me say hello, everyone, and then we'll go continue with the rest of the things going on this week. I'll say hello, Chris. Also, I saw your hello at the other stream. I'm not sure if you're still there when we did. But hello, Mister. Hello, Isabel. Hello, Nightmare. Hello, Peter. Hello, Bill. Hello, NASA. Hello, Roman. Hello, Isabel. Hello, David. Hello, Bill Warhammer. Hello, Tyrion. Hello, Crisp, as I mentioned. And hello, everyone else. And hello, everyone who hasn't said hello. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so... let's go over the other things. So there's more than that going on this week, of course. For one, we might be getting a patch on Tuesday. If we are, who knows at this point. But it is exceedingly likely that I will not be wrong 3 times in a row. So let's hope so. But very likely patch is Tuesday, though we'll see. But I would expect it at this point. It is very, very close. And the following week's Guild War after that. Not this current week, but, you know, going into that week after that. So... they're probably going to do it this week. Otherwise, it's going to be a whole nother 2 weeks before they do. Because they're generally, most likely not going to do it during Guild War week. Though, it could be proven wrong twice. Anyways, so though they generally do try to avoid that. Anyways, as far as things that we got going on this week, we do have, of course, the World event, which we already went over. Tuesday, we're going to have the faction event for the Glacial Peaks faction, which is Mirrored Halls. If you haven't already done Pure Faction for there, you can end up doing that, or to get the weapon. I believe the weapon was kind of bad. I think it was just some kind of weird reflect weapon that wasn't that good, or something. I can't actually remember. If I can't remember, it's probably bad enough to not be good. Anyways. As far as Wednesday, we have the pet rescue for the Itty Bitty Yeti, which I believe is Glacial Peaks bonus. And it is Glacial Peaks bonus. That's what I thought. Okay. But yeah, the Glacial Peaks bonus, which makes sense. It's a Glacial Peak event week. So you get Glacial Peak bonus pet. Thursday, we have the Frost Mage hero class. Frost Mage, kind of situational. Basically, there is a better Frost Mage now called Elementalist. It is Frost Mage while also being Titan, while also being like everything. It does have some downsides though. One of the big upsides to Frost Mage is it is the only hero class that can spam freeze while having half mana start naturally, which is pretty good in a lot of situations. It also has Arcane, which is situationally useful depending on what you're trying to do. What Arcane does, of course, is every single time you cast a spell, you gain 1 additional magic, and that accounts anyone on your entire team. So if you have like a really spammy team with a weapon that benefits a lot from having additional magic, like Rope Dart or a full AoE weapon, can be pretty good. It's basically used as whenever you need like a good blue weapon. So things like Rope Dart, Dawnbringer, things like that. Things that gain a lot of benefit from magic that also end up being more oriented towards blue, because it normally runs a +1 extra blue mana, or I believe it has that +1 extra blue mana, doesn't it? I'm pretty sure. It has off of its second to last perk, if I am not mistaken. Just want to double check real quick. But yeah, +1 blue right there. Personally, I run Explode on it currently, but it does have that +1 blue option, as well as purple, though normally if you're going to be using it, you're using it for its blue, but there are some situations where you go purple, and of course Explode, depending on what your team actually is, really depends, and it's pretty adjustable as far as what you want your extra mana accumulation to. So it is still very, you know what, I'm going for it. A discounted Ritz, I'm taking it. Anyways, but yeah, it's a decent hero class. If you haven't messed around with it, like if you're going to go for like only one hero class that's like it, definitely just max out Elementalist. But Frost Mage is pretty good for Guild War weeks. And there are some situations where you want that half mana start because Elementalist doesn't naturally have it, and you would have to use it with the Mirage Queen if you do want it to have a half mana start. But then that requires you to have to use Mirage Queen on your team, whereas Frost Mage can be ran in any composition without that liability. You'll probably also see me running it whenever we need a bit of additional damage for something when we're not using Archmage, I mean, because Frost Mage ends up going and covering those gaps, particularly for the blue category, because it does gain additional damage when using a blue weapon, if I'm not mistaken, because the mastery is set to purple, but the blue, or the actual extra damage that you get, the 5 extra damage is set to blue. So you're generally using it with more blue-oriented weapons. Anyways, so as far as Friday, we have a Bounty Hunter event. As far as the new troop that we have coming in, I actually don't even know. I haven't even looked at it yet. Let's see, what new troop are we getting this Friday for Bounty Hunter? Of course, Bounty Hunter is generally pretty straightforward. It's the same triple team every single time. I'll probably even mention the team on the Monday video. Obviously, I can't mention the actual troop because it doesn't come in until Friday. But, you know, I can still mention what it is and everything. And the team shell. It's pretty much the same team shell every single time, though. I'm not trying to look for troops. Where is it? So if I click on troops over here, we can see what the Bounty Hunter troop is that's coming out this Friday, which should be this guy right over here. So let me go copy his link address. Oh, yeah, I think we looked at him earlier. I forgot what he does off the top of my head. So this guy. He is a Shadow Beast. He is a Darkstone, which brings Darkstone to the number of stars of pretty high. That brings Darkstone to 25 stars. That is getting quite high, tied at the highest in the game. Anyways, so another troop for Darkstone, which is a pretty useful location because that is a magic-based kingdom if you haven't already gotten the 10-star, 20-star miles goals for it. So definitely worth progressing for that. It's a Beast Rogue. Rogue's kind of interesting. That has some potential, depending on what it does, though not in the context of Bounty Hunter, which is where it would mostly matter. It's 11 mana cost, brown-purple. It deals magic +3 damage to an enemy, and if the enemy dies, inflict a random stats effect on all enemies. Only one? That's not too good. Obviously, it has the bounty. It has a Dark Storm at start of battle, and it has Stealthy. So, long story short, you will not be using it beyond this week. Maybe some kind of weird skull spam team might use it as the finisher on your option, but it doesn't have any kind of mana accumulation or board control or extra turn chance when you get a kill. If it created purple when it got a kill, like 8 purple on top of what it already did, I feel like this could be good for some specific skull spam teams for Bounty Hunter. But it doesn't have any follow-up. Like, its follow-up is just random stats effects, and there's a really high chance it'll be completely useless. So overall, I would say you're going to use it for this Bounty Hunter and then never touch it again. Is basically what's going to happen with that. However, there is something kind of interesting that we're getting next week. This is specifically paywalled, though. This is from the Big Pass, if you happen to have the Big Pass. If you have the normal pass, you'll get it next week's Monday, as in not tomorrow, but 8 days from now. And if you're playing free-to-play, you'll be able to get it some amount of months from now, either in Soulforge, how you would normally get Mythics, or, Mythics, or when Zacian rolls back around, the next Zacian event, you'll be able to throw event keys for, which I'm actually not sure when the next Zacian event is. Let's see. Yeah, we don't currently have a time. It's not even an invisible site. Okay, we have one that's going to be happening. We have no date for it, though that does mean it's happening this year. So if you don't end up getting that Mythic, you will definitely have a chance to get it at some point this year if you're playing free-to-play. When that is, we don't currently know. Maybe we'll know next patch. But there is definitely a troop coming in. We just have no clue when that troop is coming in. But there is one planned. And if it's already in that screen, then I would say late summer, maybe earlier, maybe slightly later, is when you would be able to get that Mythic free-to-play, most likely, unless you see it in Soulforge for 4,000 diamonds and want to get it that way. Anyways, as far as what that Mythic does, it could be either really good or really bad. We'll have to definitely test it a bit tomorrow. We'll be doing that after we do the Chapter 9 tasks. But basically, it's a 22 mana cost, green, red, purple. It gains an extra turn, and that's already good. Like, that's all we need to hear. Like, it almost doesn't even matter what the rest of the text is. It is a Mythic that gains an extra turn 100% of the time, making it the third Mythic, I believe, because Iron got Mistralis and it. And by it, I mean the Fairy Godmother. So that alone, already kind of interesting. There are some other mythics that can extra turn, obviously, but not guaranteed like that. Obviously, technically, these aren't guaranteed either if you get frozen, obviously. But, you know, guaranteed in the sense that if there isn't anything stopping you from naturally getting an extra turn, you will 100% of the time get your extra turn. Anyways, it gains an extra turn, so no RNG or anything. It will just gain its extra turn, as long as it's not frozen or anything like that. And then it will either create 2 to 3 wish gems, which is sketchy, but also potentially really good, or deal magic +1 damage to all enemies, which is a nice standard AoE, boosted by wish gems, which is a ratio of 5, so for every wish gem on the board, it would do 5 additional damage. For the most part, you can pretty much just consider that as standard AoE, which is overall a kind of underwhelming amount of damage, especially for a mythic for the mana cost. Or it'll give magic, though you do have to factor in the extra turn, though. And the third thing is, or it'll give magic +1 life to all other allies, which means not itself. And that's also boosted by wish gems, both at a 5 times boost ratio, seemingly. So there are 2 of these that are good, 1 of them that's not too good, and 1 of them that can backfire. So basically, 2 to 3 wish gems. This is an interesting option, because if you do not immediately have a way to destroy these, it will backfire. But you have to factor in, you do have an automatic extra turn, which is quite a bit different than all the other ways that you create wish gems. So wish gems is a bit of a weird thing, where if you create a lot of them, it's actually going to be more beneficial for the enemy than it is for you, because if you don't have a way to clear all of them, then that's not going to be good. However, as long as you have a way to clear all of them, combined with its extra turn, 2 to 3 wish gems basically means full mana your entire team, including itself. Because the wish gems are going to go into the board. You're then going to use an explosion on the board, or, you know, any kind of destroy, anything that can consistently destroy most, if not all of the board. You will then get the 2 to 3 wish gems to trigger. At minimum, this is giving 1 of your troops full mana, and realistically, probably almost your entire team, if not your entire team. But one thing you have to keep in mind, though, let's say you create 3 wish gems. Assuming they're weighted evenly, which I'm actually not sure if they are, but let's assume they're weighted evenly. I think they are, though not 100% sure. But if they are, there are 5 different options. 1 of your troop getting full mana, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th option is all of your troops getting full mana, as well as all the enemy troops getting full mana, which means if it is weighted at a 20% even thing, it's almost like using a Possessed King's cast. Like, the chance that Possessed King would even hit 1 transform is the chance that this would basically give the entire enemy team full mana, which is exceedingly bad. However, it might be loopable enough to actually be good. There's basically going to be 2 modes for this mythic. It's either going to be broken beyond belief or backfire like crazy. And it really depends on luck. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. I'm not sure if it's going to be consistent enough to use. As long as you have a good destroy option follow-up, it should be, though. Because you basically, the whole premise with this is you're going to have like a leprechaun or some kind of explode or some kind of consistent way to destroy the whole board, maybe Thoral, something similar. You know, Merilith, anything that can, or maybe not Merilith, has a lot of mana block, but something consistently that can clear out the whole board. Then you're going to go and have these wish gems on the board. You're going to go and clear them all out, and then just go absolutely crazy with mana. This only does occur 1/3 of the time. However, of course, you're going to already have your other mana accumulator, which is still going to be looping around, so you're going to be able to get some mana pretty quick back up, even when it doesn't hit the wish gems. But I don't know. I feel like it's going to be too luck-based to use, is the bottom line. Speaking on its luck-based things, its final unique trait is a 50% chance to convert a yellow gem to a wish gem at the start of your turn, meaning half the time you're going to have a wish gem on your turn ready to go, meaning as long as you have your mana accumulator ready to go, you'll also be able to go and take that wish gem and chain that into getting full mana for most of your team, if not all your team, and then kind of just keep going from there. So it has a lot of potential to be really good, but also has a lot of potential to be really bad. It's definitely going to be a fun mythic. I'll give it that. Though I feel like it's going to be too inconsistent to bother using, is my biggest concern with this. Because if you're looking for it to do damage, it's only doing it 1/3 of the time. If you're looking to add it to do mana accumulation, 50% of your turns will get it, and if not that, 1/3 of your cast will get it. However, there's just a high inconsistency there that will be interesting to see how it pans out overall. But anyways, that's a new mythic. It's coming out. There's 3 release dates for it, as I mentioned. One of them's tomorrow if you bought the bigger pass. The other one is next week's Monday, not tomorrow, but 8 days from now if you bought the normal pass. And free to play will get it probably sometime by the summer, maybe earlier if it stops by in Soulforge for 4,000 diamonds. And if it looks interesting to you, might want to start saving diamonds for it if you haven't already gotten your double Fair Shroud. Definitely, I mean not Fair Shroud, I mean double Iron Hawk. Probably prioritize that first, but I don't know. It should be a fun mythic. We'll test it around. Not sure it's going to be super broken though, but seems fun. Anyways, that's everything. That's all the things happening next week. And probably a patch on Tuesday, but we'll go over that then, as that is quite convoluted to go over. And we don't even have the proper patch notes. We got like a teaser thing that wasn't supposed to leak that leaked But we don't know the actual full patch notes, and we won't know until the patch actually launches. Hopefully this Tuesday, fingers crossed. Probably, though not guaranteed. It seemed like it would for the last 2 Tuesdays and still hasn't. Though this one seems pretty likely. The one reason it likely didn't happen this week is, of course, Puzzle Quest 3 launched on Tuesday, the other game that they are developing. So it kind of made sense. But it definitely makes a lot of sense that it would be this week now at this point, because 2 weeks from now is Guild War Week, and they try to avoid patches during Guild War Week, so pretty likely. Anyways, so hello ClipBomb, hello Dwight, hope that's hello too. Hello Pan Jang, hello Logic Slayer, hello Barbara, hello Sushi Ninja, hello everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. Do you think this patch will bring the next Journey event? No, because I don't think we're getting a Kingdom in this next patch. We're getting some reworks to factions, we're getting some rework to early game, which I'm not sure exactly how that'll affect it overall, but I believe early game players are getting some nice tweaks, or they should be nice in theory. They're supposed to be. How good they actually are is within question. But I believe next patch is mostly early game tweaks, a very decent buff to Explore, particularly Explore 12, but also Explore in general, but particularly Explore 12. And one other feature, I can't remember what that was though. But yeah, we're getting a couple interesting things next patch. A couple of them. But we'll be going over that on Tuesday, assuming the patch goes out. Because normally they do the patch around the same time we start streaming every single night, so it'll be perfectly easy for us to cover it. Since literally as we start to stream, the patch will probably be up like minutes after. Sometimes I even wait till the update's up. Though if it seems like it's going to take too long, if it doesn't happen after like 5-10 minutes, we normally just start to stream. Ideally, they post the patch notes exactly at 8 p.m. Sometimes they haven't been doing it as consistently lately as far as the exact time that they do it. Because it's always nice reading the patch notes while we're waiting for the actual patch to propagate and be able to play it. Because normally the patch notes go up like anywhere from like a few minutes to like almost an hour before the patch actually does. Though they've been getting later and later with it recently. Ever since Salty been gone. Whoever's in charge of it now, they've been slacking on getting it up there. I guess they also don't want to post it too early. Like, obviously, they don't want to post it a day earlier. Like what happened on Amazon, where they almost, like, leaked, or they did literally leaked, not the whole patch notes, but they leaked, like, the primary features that were in the patch, like, 3 weeks early. Which I'm not sure how they managed to do that. Which is one of the reasons I thought the patch was going to be a little bit earlier than it was. Because they literally leaked, like, all the main things in the patch, like, 2-3 weeks ago. Alright, there we go. Let's see, let's grab all these, and then we'll go finish out the faction event. So, of course, hopefully, I'm not sure. Do you guys like the weekend faction events? Actually, we could just pull it. Not sure how to word that, though. Because I don't hate the weekend faction event. But, oh no, I'd rather have new content. Oh no, let's make a quick poll out of it. Let's see. How do you feel about the new faction event? How do you feel about the new faction? Or not new faction event, I should say, what should I say for it? How do you feel about old weekend faction events returning? Such as this weekend. Let's see. Let's see. I'm not sure how to word these answers. I'm not sure how to answer word these options. I can only think of two. Like either like it or would prefer new content. I think those are just the only two. I can't think of a third off the top of my head. There we go. Let's just go with that. I don't know. I feel like my answer is both, which is weird. Maybe I should have added a both option. I'm not sure. Like, I'd rather them do newer stuff, but also it's nice for people to catch up. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to word even that question. I feel like that's a bad poll. I'm not sure how to word it in a way. To be fair to both options. Because I feel like this initial one, I kind of liked it. But if this kept occurring, like, every several weeks, I'm not sure I would like it as much. Because it's another one of those like bloated, useless events, like an arena event. Like when we have an arena weekend event. Like, I feel like it's almost the same category of that, but slightly more useful for people who haven't done the factions, which is nice. I wish their solution would be more so to make the Tuesday faction event a 3-day event, rather than moving the faction events to weekends. Is probably my my take on it. But I don't mind the weekend ones. Like, it's definitely really good. I just feel like I would get tired if they keep doing like 3 days. Like, I feel like I would skip a lot of the weekend faction events if they start doing it, like, let's say every 6 weeks. Like, I feel like I would start skipping it after like a few of them. Like, I would do the first few, and then by the time we're at like the 4th weekend faction event, like a couple months from now, I probably wouldn't even do it. Unless we just wanted to mess around with it on stream. Because the payout for it's kind of bad. If you're just doing the free battles. Like, the amount of time relative to loot returned, it's not the greatest. So you are getting a decent amount of gold and a few other things, but I don't know, it's not the greatest of return. Especially with the Explore 12 buff that's coming next patch. I'd rather just be doing the Explore 12 grind than mess with the faction. No, we'll see. It definitely helps newer players, that's for sure. And the next patch is geared towards helping newer players even more, so it seems almost likely that they might end up keeping this as a regular thing, like, you know, bringing back some of the old faction events. It definitely seems likely. Because there are several things the next patch that should be targeting new players to make the game easier and more structured and streamlined and easier to understand. Because there are some things that are still kind of confusing, like when the underworld unlocks and a few other things like that. And I think they're making it a lot more streamlined next patch, so I'm not sure all the details exactly. But it definitely seems like something that is part of the aim of next patch. Basically to help the super end game people and the super early game people. Seem to be like the two main targets of this next patch that's coming. If you're a new player and you missed your chance of a 3-day all-seeing eye, now you have a chance like older players got. Yeah, true. That's one of the biggest benefits of it, I would say, of the weekend faction events. Is it allows people who wouldn't have time during the week to have the same accessibility as when a new faction came out to be able to do it. However, as stats keep going higher and higher, it is getting increasingly easier to do potionless on factions. While it's still a hard thing to do, it has never been easier to do potionless. Because as more stats come into the game, it because the way that factions are scaled, they're always technically the same difficulty. Like, for example, All-Seeing Eye, back like 2 years ago, is the same stats, like the actual battle that you have to do is the same stats 2 years ago or 3 years ago, however long it was. It was about 2.5. But it was the same stats 2.5 years ago as it was today. However, the player has access to more stats, quite a bit more stats, than what was originally possible back then. So as time goes on, every single faction technically gets easier. Because they never get harder, and the player has access to better combos as well. Well, technically that wouldn't help for pure faction. But the player gets access to higher stats through various mechanics within the game. Like kingdoms and other similar things. So there is that factor. Because when All-Seeing Eye came in, there wasn't like those extra faction bonus off of kingdoms that gave that like that extra 50% that you can end up getting. We had at minimum like at least 15 less stats off of kingdom upgrades, if not more, probably even more. Obviously, most all the renowned stats didn't even exist because there was only 2 factions in the game. So all you had was like what, +1 HP, whereas there are a lot more faction stats now. So there's quite a bit of differences in that regard. Plus, we have those power gems now, and it's pretty interesting now with power gems because now there's some seasons of the game where for 10 weeks it is easier or potentially harder to do a various pure faction. Like right now, of course, there's wish gems. So any faction right now that has access to destroying gems is a bit easier than it would have been prior. Because if you have a good board clear option underneath one of your factions, you can now clear those wish gems and get a lot more value for it. And probably even get value over the enemy because the enemy is probably not going to prioritize taking them. At least not in the same way that a player would. So there are those factors. Let's see what's the other over. Yeah, it feels weird. I don't know like who to ask anymore when it comes to Gems of War things. Because Salty used to be like the main person for it. I sometimes get in contact with Kafka about a few things here and there. But it's very rare and it's hard to contact her sometimes. But yeah, there's not really anyone that they have, because Genko doesn't really do it to the same degree. Whatever that other guy's name is even community manager. I'm not really sure what his role is. G-Man. And I think that's all of them. Kafka kind of does the role of community manager here and there, though it's definitely not her primary role in the company. Yeah, she's only done like 3 streams since Salty left. I've only caught one of them, the one for Halloween. Has she done more? I've only ever caught one. But yeah, they basically don't even stream anymore on their company account thing, which normally is done by Genko when it is done. Yeah, Kafka's pretty nice. Hard to get in contact with her sometimes. She's also the person who makes all the codes for us, which is why I say she's hard to get in contact with sometimes. Because if you're ever wondering why we don't have codes at a given moment in time, that's technically because of Kafka. They're probably beyond her control sometimes. It's just hard to get in contact with her occasionally. That's why I normally ask for them like weeks in advance. Speaking of which, how many codes do I have left? I should probably ask her tonight. I have enough for like 3 more weeks, but it sometimes takes like 2 weeks to contact her. So, I don't know. I'll probably wait another week or 2. I feel like it's slightly too early to ask. I'm pretty sure she sent them like, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago? I normally try doing it about once every month, or slightly before once every month. Otherwise, sometimes we'll have some dead periods where we don't have any codes. If I wait that long. Let's see, we'll take that over. Go to our explosion there. I said hello, Defiant. Hello, Jamie. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I didn't know how, I think I weighted the poll very weirdly, so the results may vary. I couldn't think of how to word the poll that would be fair for both sides. Because I feel like it would be biased towards one side if I worded it in a certain way. So I didn't really know how to word it. And I gave my whole spiel on it earlier. Codes for what? Oh, they just give some in-game resources. It just gives a gem key and some other resources. Nothing unique, just a bunch of standard resources within the game. Though they have handed out unique codes before that have handed out like some stuff that have already been like obtainable in the game. Like sometimes it's like an old event pad or something, but all of my codes are simply a gem key and some other resources. Nothing that is locked behind anything. Oh, so they said they were going to make redeem codes for Puzzle Quest 3. I wonder if they're still ever going to get around to that. I actually honestly haven't played it since the last time we streamed it. Which, I don't know. The game needs more progress. I want it to be such a good game because the premise is just so good, but I don't know. It just does so many things wrong at the moment. I might be covering some guides and stuff on it soon, though. Well, if nothing else, we finished the whole storyline of the game. That was pretty fun. Honestly, the story wasn't that bad. It was written by Salty as well, the community manager for Gems of War, or the old community manager for Gems of War. And honestly, the writing wasn't that bad. It wasn't like the best thing I ever read, but I was surprised. I was decent. Some parts were definitely very obvious that it was Salty writing. Let's see. I'll take that over. I do feel like the storyline ended a bit abruptly, though. Like, it did conclude, but the way that it concluded didn't really feel that fulfilling. Seemed a little too abrupt. But overall, wasn't that bad. There we go. Also, why do we have so many sigils? Did I just get like double Valraven? I just like noticed how many sigils we have. That's a decent number of sigils. Oh, we're definitely gonna get stage 14 for another orb then. I think that's as far as we go though, because we're definitely not gonna break 15 or 16. So that's kind of fine, I guess. So we get all the rewards except the final 2 orbs if we buy tier 1. I think. I'm not sure if that actually will get us all the way. That's okay value, I guess. Because what's everything we're getting? Obviously all the gold, all the shards, all that. An orb and 2 Vault Keys. Oh, sorry, 2 orbs and 2 Vault Keys. It's basically like an extended Tuesday event then. Where instead of 2 orbs, 1 Vault Key, you get 2 orbs, 2 Vault Keys. But it just takes a longer amount of time to claim. So it's basically an extremely elongated Tuesday event. Is basically what it is. Which makes sense. That's interesting. Not sure that's too good on value though. Because that means the main loot that you're getting is that 2x multiplier as you're going through every single room. That's honestly probably one of the biggest loots that you're getting. Like the fact that you're getting a fully multiplied chest every single time that has all that gold and shards and other various resources in it. The one that you get at the end of a of the faction after killing out the boss. Because you do have that solid 1x extra ratio the entire time. Video idea: review each hero talent tree. Arcane, Chaos, Cunning. I was gonna do one for the entirety of all classes. I guess I could break it down also based on the tree itself. I actually forget what the full list for that is. I need to go double check. Because I actually forget how many there are. I believe there's around 14, I want to say. Obviously 35 hero classes, but as far as like how many like tree types. That's definitely something we would do around the time when we do a all class thing. But there would be 3 main videos I want to cover for that. Though I'm not sure if I would cover a team video. I'd rather explain how to use it rather than specific teams, because those teams could become outdated, whereas the strategy would not become outdated. Because I definitely want to cover, obviously, the mythic tier list. I mean, not mythic, well, that too. But I mean the class tier list. However, I would also want to mention what you said, like breaking down each tree individually. Just kind of all of its overall viability. As far as like a quick overview, the main ones that are good are any of them that have anything good on 100. There are a few exceptions to this, but generally a good tree is one that actually has a beneficial effect on a level 100. And a bad tree is pretty much any of them that don't. There are a few exceptions. Like there are some bad trees that are pretty horrible, that basically have like a horrible level 100 option, but are still considered good due to the other options that they have within. But a good majority of like the must-have ones are all the ones that actually have a good benefit at 100, because there's so many of them that are just completely pointless at 100. And that's like the easiest determining factor. So if you look at a tree and just simply look at its 100 perk, you could pretty much already tell the viability of the entirety of it. Simply based on if its final perk is even remotely useful. The soon TM mythic tier list. I covered one a year ago. I haven't covered an updated one since then. But no, we covered one about a year ago. Obviously, we've gotten, like, what, 20 more mythics since then. I do want to cover another one at some point, obviously. The class tier list would definitely be first before that. The only super major change to the mythic tier list, which would probably be the main reason for updating it, aside from all the new troops that have come out since then, is Ironhawk is like insane. Because Ironhawk was not included in the previous tier list because, well, it didn't exist yet at the time. However, it does now, and gosh, is it broken beyond belief from a gain loot perspective. It was already good, and then when they buffed a Vault event, it became absolutely insane. Because back in like back around this time last year is when Ironhawk came in, but then the summer of last year they did the buff where they added Nomopalooza and that whole ordeal, and they had to nerf it so many times because it was just so much loot, and even now it's still so much loot, even after the nerfs. And it basically got like double buffed, like the viability of Ironhawk. It basically made something like Farish Ra go from a like an A tier, S tier mythic to like nearly D tier because it's no longer needed as a resource accumulator. Oh, hello, Cookie. Welcome, welcome. But I also kind of wanted to cover guides for that one Pokemon game, but gosh, is that so saturated? Like, I'm not sure how on earth you break into the algorithm of Pokemon. It is just such an oversaturated genre that I think it might be pointless to even try. I have to stick to, like, more indie stuff. Because unless you get, like, super ultra lucky, kind of like how we did through Age of Calamity, I don't think it really works. Not sure how you would go about it. Because I use, like, literally all the same strategy, and I don't even think the video is even at 100 views. Compared to, like, some of the Age of Calamity ones that broke, I think one that broke over 100,000. And a few other similar ones. It's weird how it is. Let's see, we'll throw that down. Like, this stream will literally get more than the guide that I spent, like, hours upon hours on. Which is one of the other weird things about YouTube. Because there's a lot of good content on YouTube by, like, smaller creators. Not ourselves, but, well, also ourselves, but, you know. But, like, other creators out there who will create, like, these super ultra edited videos that, like, they probably put, like, 10, 20 hours into. And then you'll look at the view count and it's like, oh, they have 1,000 views on this. It just seems so weird that it's, like, so low. It's weird how YouTube's algorithm works sometimes. Because the best content doesn't always go to the top. It's the one that just the algorithm likes the most. What do we need here? Actually, I actually have an inverse option of that. My really weird speed run for, I still don't understand why that video blew up so much, but ages ago, we were just messing around because I don't really do speed running, but you know, it's something we've kind of like dabbled in just for the fun of it here and there. Obviously, we do things pretty quick for quite a few games because it's easier to farm efficiently. But we covered like, or we ended up doing like a quick video where we're like doing a speed run for a pretty uncontested category in Stardew Valley back in its earlier days. And it's kind of weird because like some of the best speed runs in the entire game for that game don't really have too many views. Yeah, for whatever reason, my one speed run I did on that was like a horrible video overall, that was mostly just messing around with, was has like 100,000 something views, and I don't understand. It makes zero sense. It is such a bad quality video, and I'm so glad that you can't even see the dislikes on it anymore because I think it's like 50% dislikes. But it's I think like my third most viewed video. It's so weird. I do not understand. Makes literally zero sense. Let's see. Throw that down. Get a big destroy. Also, I absolutely love this team, by the way. I would also say it's among one of the most meta things you could use for factions. There's a couple other things out there that are obviously pretty good, but I really love Iron Gut Zugoff with 2 mana accumulators. Obviously, every faction can't run this. Actually, very few can. But when you can, it is such a fun option. Definitely among one of my favorite. Also, whenever you see me doing deep factions, this is like generally my go-to kind of structure. Or at least for any faction that can run it, of course. Oh, Arcane? Oh, okay, so there's 17 different trees, so that's kind of correct. I knew it was like in the mid, I knew it was like in the middle of like between 10 and 20. Just didn't know the exact number. 17 sounds about right. Which is kind of interesting because that's about half as many as there are hero classes. Bill Warhammer. This is going to become a meme forever. We'll be doing this channel like a decade from now. And it will still be a meme that we never covered the guide video for 2019. I should almost just cover that video on like April Fool's one day. Probably not this year, though we could. I'm not sure if we'll do anything for April Fool's this day. Or this year, I mean. Actually, what day does that fall on? Obviously April 1st, but it falls on a Friday. Are we doing anything that day? As far as Gems of War, that is. What's going on in Gems of War that day? What is going on? Can we even see that far? We might not be able to until the patch hits. Yes, April 1st is an arena event. So basically nothing is going on in Gems of War that day. It's like there's absolutely nothing that weekend. We did something pretty funny one of the times. When we were playing Puzzle Quest 1 at a time, one of the troops got a Bone Dragon ended up getting nerfed. And brown and purple. Was it both brown and purple? I think it might have been both brown and purple. Or maybe it was just brown or something. But basically, the joke was they ended up nerfing something. And that it got nerfed so hard that they removed the gem from the game. Because Bone Dragon ended up getting heavily nerfed. But Puzzle Quest 1 we were playing at the time, and also it doesn't use one of its colors. So the joke was that it just got completely removed from the game as we're kind of like showing that Bone Dragon got nerfed by showing Puzzle Quest 1 footage. That was a funny one. We haven't really done too many good April Fool's jokes. I do know of one that I kind of want to do. However, I would need multiple people in on the joke for it to work. Which would kind of ruin it for every single person I would need to have in on the joke. But there is something I kind of want to do. But I'm not sure if I'll have it ready properly this year. I feel like I would have to do it next year's April Fool's if we're trying to pull something like it. I'm pretty sure someone on some channel has done similar before. But it's something I've been wanting to try. I don't want to say what it is because it'll obviously spoil what it is. I don't think I'll do it this year though. Or will I? No, I probably not. We'll see. But the problem is you would have to have multiple people in on it for it to work properly. Also, what is with this lag spike all of a sudden? There we go. Oh, come on, Agile. That's not nice. A channel swap? No, it wouldn't be a channel swap. Though that would be kind of funny. Imagine if some other Gems of War streamer was just streaming on our channel. That wasn't what I was planning. Though that would be kind of funny if it was. You love weekend faction events, especially if they are the ones of your unfinished delves. Well, of course, if it's an unfinished delve, it works out very conveniently. That's like the main reason for having them. Like, it is so good for completing out any unfinished delves you might have. But there are other ways that they can end up doing that. Like, it doesn't have to be them repeating old events. It could be them adding potions like they said that they might do at some point when it's not the faction event. Or making the Tuesday event a longer event, like a 3-day event rather than a 1-day event. And other similar things. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be factions being on weekends again. There are other ways around it. That's like the easiest way for them to get around it, but there are other ways around it. You got to 130 on the faction? Nice. Yeah, we did with tier 1. I believe we're at... What are we at right now? 200? I'm not sure. We did buy tier 1, though. I'm not sure how much further that brings you, because we got some pretty quick Valraven luck there. I feel like almost brought us like 2 Valravens further somehow. We're actually pretty deep for how we're pretty much being at free battles. Because like right now, we'd be at 0 sigils if we didn't have that extra 1. Which means if we get a Valraven here, we go quite a bit further. Also, wow, we actually are getting a lot of points. Has anyone actually gotten all rewards with tier 2? I don't think it's possible. Tier 3, probably. But tier 2? There's no way tier 2 does it. Look at how close we are. Oh, blue orb too, nice. Because we're almost going to do stage 15. I'm not even sure what kind of point scaling we're going to get here, but we're going to get a decent chunk. If we get a Valraven here, though there's no way we're getting a Valraven on this floor. Like if we did, I'm pretty sure we actually reached like almost the end of the points there. Like if we only had to go 1 tier deeper for all tiers, it would be worth it. Though I don't think you can, because that would only be tier 2, and I believe you only get like 1 extra sigil there. Like, the amount that you would get would not be enough, I am pretty sure. Unless you had, like, really good Valraven luck. You were 830 short of 16. What? How many tiers did you have? 2 tiers? 3 tiers? You had floor 210 without any tiers. Interesting. You probably could get all rewards with tier 2. Interesting. I always used to think it was at least tier 3. But maybe it is possible to do it with tier 2. I also have to keep in mind, the last time I even did it like that, it was back during the earlier factions, and there's a lot more multiplier now compared to what used to exist within factions. Because the overall multiplier in factions were quite a bit lower for things like All Seeing Eye, Half Guardians, and a few others. Because they didn't really have tier 5 rooms, or not as many of them, or just less overall multiplier. They didn't have treasure rooms consistently. This place also doesn't really, I think, has 1 guaranteed treasure room in the top right or something. Is that enough to kill? It almost is. I wish it was. It's funny when Iron Gut can kill with its base damage. Because sometimes you do poke with that. It does still have, even though you normally don't use Iron Gut for such a purpose, he does still have a damage poke on extra turn. It's a very small damage poke that's extremely underwhelming, but it is still an extra turn damage poke. And even if they have immune, you can still pressure damage with it. It's just a really inefficient way of doing so. But as a last resort, it's not bad. Like, it's usable. You bought tier 1 and had about 8,000 points on the last reward tier. Interesting. With tier 2, you were 9,000 short. Has to do a lot with multiplier too. Because multiplier order, I'm not really taking full multiplier order. However, generally speaking, going bottom and then going all the way to the top will be the correct multiplier order for this faction. There are some rare exceptions where it's not. Oh, I've just been taking it in that order every time. Because multiplier affects your overall score. Because the amount of score that you get per room is based on your total amount of multiplier score. So you want to get as many big multipliers as quickly as you can. Unfortunately, this delve doesn't have too many choices as far as what direction you move in. And luck can definitely affect it. Oh yeah, I never handed out a redeem code yet. I should probably go do that. I was going to wait until we finished the faction. However, the faction was taking way longer than I was expecting it to take. Though, aren't we on the final battle? Or not the final battle, but I mean, aren't we at 0 sigils? So unless we get Valraven, we'll go hand it a code after we finish out this area then. Yeah, we're at 0 sigils unless we get a Valraven right here. Which means we'd get to stage 15 with nothing left over with tier 1. Which means tier 2 definitely would not be enough to close the gap then. It'd get close, but not all the way. Unless we get a Valraven. Though that means we'd have to get above average Valraven luck. I don't think we would get one there. They're not that common. Not this mode. Setting up your new Switch OLED, nice. Yeah, I haven't done much with mine yet. I literally just been using it for the new Pokemon game, and that's it. That's literally the only thing I use it for. And I just have the save data transferred from my main Switch. I still use my main Switch as my primary Switch for my older one. But for any time I use handheld, I use the older Switch. I mean, the newer Switch, I mean. But yeah, we're currently, what is that? 54,000 short. I don't feel like 2 sigils would be enough. Oh, never mind. 1 sigil. Then 3. Alright, tier 3 would do it. It comes down to, do you think it is worth spending 210 gems for 2 orbs? Overall, I'd probably say no. Like, it's not awful value. But that's basically the value exchange we have right now. Because there's no way tier 2 is going to cover that gap unless we get a Valraven. Which ultimately means we'd have to spend 210 gems. Or sorry, 180 gems, my bad. We'd have to spend 180 gems, 210 total if you count tier 1. I keep saying 210 because 30 gems, 60 gems, 120. Which means 210 total, but 180 more gems to get the 2 orbs and the other stuff. I don't know, it's not horrible value. I don't think I want to do it though. But I can see it being okay. It could definitely be okay value, especially if we did only 1 tier and got lucky and got Valraven. Though the chance of that happening is exceedingly unlikely, to the point that it likely won't. But anyways, let me go ahead and enter the code. Let's see. Let's see. Let me go put this over here. Put this over here. Find the code section so I can actually get this to you guys. And if you guys have any other questions that you want me to go over, do let me know. And we will make sure to do so. Otherwise, tomorrow, of course, we'll be going over quite a few things. All the stuff for the week in the weekly video. And tomorrow night, we'll be messing with the new mythic coming out, as well as the Chapter 9 tasks. But here you guys go. Here is the redeem code. Right over there. There you guys go. Enjoy. Give same order as always. 2 treasure maps, 1 gem key, 200 souls, 2,500 gold. Only usable on PC mobile version of the game. And definitely feel free to leave a like on the stream. Helps a lot and is greatly appreciated. There you guys go. And thank you. Alright, so let's go around the chest real quick. And then we'll probably end it there. 1 singular chest to go get our triple Nisha dropped. But yeah, I'm curious to see what next patch will do to buff it or change it or tweak it or whatever on earth they're doing. Because next patch is definitely affecting it in some way, shape, or form. In a very positive way. It's literally just free loot on top of what's already there. It's not getting nerfed or in that regard in any single way. Like, it's not going to be played. Actually, I don't know. There is something that, like, slightly changes how it's played. But, like, whatever team you're using now will probably still be... Like, if you're using an Explore 12 team, that team that you're using will not really be any more deterred than it already was. The only exception to this is maybe Scorpius. It might make Scorpius forever permanently not meta. Because I believe it has a stats or immunity that would make it so you can't poison kill it. Or, you know, the insta-kill thing. Which would permanently make Scorpius not worth using in any Explorer under any circumstance. Assuming it does. I'm not 100% certain on that. But assuming it has, let's say, Impervious, for example. The new Mimic troop that could explore, that can occur in Explorer to give you extra loot. Let's say that happens. You're not getting through that with Scorpius. Or at least not in a timely manner. And that's going to be very problematic and would basically permanently make Scorpius useless. Or maybe not useless, but you know, in that context, it would never be usable as an Explore option ever again. Even though in the past, and even currently for Nexus specifically, it is a pretty decent option. Like, you can run a pretty quick Scorpius in Nexus right now because there's no immune to poison. But they start adding stuff like that, like with the Mimics, and they happen to have Impervious, that can really get in your way of being able to use the troop. Which, of course, is a bit of a liability. As it would make it slow enough to... it's already, I feel, slower than other teams. A couple other teams. But that would, like, permanently put the nail in the coffin. As far as its viability in Explore, at least. It's still an interesting option. The fact that it can double kill sometimes out of nowhere. And if it double kills, it's always fun to see. Scorpius double kill is very funny. When it goes for the insta-kill, straight to the insta-kill. The good old combo. Okay, we'll take that over. Good to go. Yeah, 2 more battles. Then we'll go claim our daily Anu. The game always knows when we're taking our final chests. Let's hope so. I don't know, my luck has been okay today. I wouldn't say we had super good luck today. We also haven't had super bad luck today. I'll catch you later, Hung. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you have a wonderful week. And good night if it's nighttime for you. Oh, we got Celestial there. Alright, final battle. Let's go claim our gigantic chests. And next patch we'll have the mimics. Hopefully we'll get a bunch of tokens that way. Because the main thing that they do is give you, like, drown you in tokens. The better mimic has a 5 times multiplier for how many tokens you get. So basically imagine the loot at the end of this match, but 5 times higher. It doesn't do that every time. Otherwise that'd be broken beyond belief, obviously. But it does it occasionally. And when it does, it's going to be great. Because that would have been 5 Yasmins and 5 Orpheuses. Also, that is such a generic chest. But imagine if it wasn't with 5 times more. That would actually be kind of nice. Even if it was the more generic-y ones. But unfortunately, kind of average chests to end it with. Well, we got our Tribute. Tribute's been so many gems. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people with over 100,000 gems these days. I haven't been taking it as much, so we don't have anywhere near 100,000. But if you take your Tribute on a regular basis, you're talking like thousands of gems per week. And if you moderate how many gems you use, you're profiting like, what, at least 2,000 gems per week, if not more. Like, that can go up pretty quick. Because that's like, what, 8,000 or so per month. So technically, in a year, if you took Tribute enough, you would have over 100,000 gems this late in the game with how much Tribute there is. I just don't take Tribute that often. Like, I still take it, obviously, but I don't, like, take it, like, literally every hour that I'm awake. Not sure if there's still some people that do. Like, it gives you a lot of resources, but obviously it takes a lot of time. Like not a lot of time, but, you know, like, going on and clicking it real quick. But, you know, to go out of your way, stop everything, to go in the little app to go click it on your phone or on PC. It takes some time, constantly, and to remember the 1 hour timer thing. Definitely not as paranoid as I used to be about taking it. Still take it, I think, on average, like 3 to 5 times per day. Whereas I think there was, at one point, I was taking it like 16 times a day. Like, when the Tribute first came out, it was like, oh, free gems for just clicking this button. And would do it a lot. Especially because I would do it in between studying for, like, college and stuff. So it worked kind of conveniently. It doesn't work as well with my current schedule these days. Anyways, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. We'll be covering the weekly video very soon. Tomorrow night will be a pretty big stream. We'll be covering the new Mythic. We'll be covering all Chapter 9 tasks. And messing around with all the standard weekly stuff. And hopefully Tuesday night, another big stream, because we might be having the patch. It is not guaranteed that we're getting patch on Tuesday, though it is very, 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 very exceedingly likely that this Tuesday is the patch. So we're basically going to have 2 really big streams in a row. Tomorrow, where we're going over all the weekly stuff with the new Mythic, and then Tuesday, where we should have a whole new patch to go over and mess with all the new features that it ends up bringing, or at least as many as we can access immediately. So that'll be a lot of fun. So pretty busy week for Gems of War this week, so see how that goes down. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching as always. Greatly appreciate it. Enjoy your week. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you guys soon. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching as always. Greatly appreciate it.